All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're exploring a topic that is just filled with so much anticipation, so many questions. We're talking about how to understand those first, super subtle clues your body might be sending you about a potential pregnancy, sometimes even before you've missed a period. So let's just tackle the big question head on, the one that's on everyone's mind during that anxious, 2-week wait. What are the earliest signs? What is your body actually telling you? And how can you know if it might be pregnancy? But before we can even begin to decode any of these signs, we've got to talk about timing. Because when it comes to this stuff, timing is, well, it's everything. Okay, let's break this down. So, day 1, that's when your period starts. Pretty straightforward. Then you have the sweet spot, the fertile window, usually somewhere between days 10 and 20. Now, if conception happens, the really interesting part starts around day 21. That's when those very first symptoms can begin to show up. And get this, that's about a whole week before your next period is even supposed to start. So let's zero in on the very first physical thing that has to happen to kick all of this off. It all begins with a little process called implantation. Implantation is it. It's the moment a pregnancy officially gets underway. It's when that fertilized embryo finds a home, kind of nestles into the uterine wall. And that is the trigger that unleashes the massive hormonal shifts we're about to get into. Now, this is so important because this is where a lot of the confusion happens. Implantation cramping is usually really mild, more like little twinges or a gentle pulling feeling. But the real giveaway? It's the timing. It happens about a week before your period is due. Period cramps, on the other hand, tend to be more intense, and they show up right before or during your period. It's a key difference. And it's not always just cramping. That whole nestling in process can also cause a little bit of spotting. So if you see some very light pink or brown discharge around the same time you feel those mild twinges, that's another classic sign of implantation. Okay, so implantation is complete. And boom, the starting gun has officially been fired. Your body starts to pump out pregnancy hormones like crazy, and this leads to a whole cascade of changes. Some are really obvious, and some are incredibly subtle. We are talking about 3 main hormonal players here: estrogen, progesterone, and HCG. The levels of these 3 just start to skyrocket. And believe me, they are responsible for pretty much every single thing you're about to feel. Probably the first things you're going to notice are physical. You might feel this incredible fatigue. And I'm not talking about regular I'm tired fatigue. This is your body diverting a massive amount of energy to this new project. At the same time, you'll probably feel some pretty distinct changes in your breasts. They might feel swollen, heavier, and just really, really tender. But let's get even more specific, because here's where it gets really interesting. The source material for this explainer points to some of the most reliable early signs being very particular changes to the nipples. Clues that honestly a lot of people might not even think to look for. So you'll want to pay close attention to these details. Those hormones are already getting your body ready for breastfeeding. This can make the nipple and the areola get way darker, almost black sometimes. The areola itself might get wider, and you might see these little bumps appear. And the sensitivity, it can be so extreme that just your shirt brushing against them feels like a lot. But the hormonal roller coaster doesn't just stop at the physical stuff. Oh no. It can also completely hijack your senses and your emotions, leading to some pretty surprising and frankly weird changes. And for a lot of this, you can thank progesterone. That huge surge is what's behind the sudden mood swings, the feelings of nausea, and a totally rewired sense of taste and smell. And yep, it's also why you might find yourself running to the bathroom a lot more often. And these effects can be all over the place. You might find yourself crying during a commercial for no reason. You could feel kind of queasy but not actually sick. Suddenly you need sour foods, or the coffee you used to love now smells absolutely awful. It's just your body's entire chemistry shifting into a new gear. So maybe you're noticing some of these signs. You're feeling exhausted, your senses are going haywire, and you're thinking, what does this all mean? Well, this brings us to the most critical part: what you do next. Now, while all of these early clues are super interesting and really helpful, you have to remember this. The single most reliable, surefire sign of pregnancy is, and always will be, a missed period. That is the clearest signal your body can send. So if you suspect there's a chance, here's your game plan. First, be good to yourself. Try to avoid a ton of stress or really heavy exercise because stress hormones can actually interfere with implantation. Definitely don't take any painkillers or other meds without talking to a doctor. And then, the hardest part, be patient. Wait for that missed period before you reach for a test. Once you've waited those 4 or 5 days after your missed period, it's go time for a home pregnancy test. And the results are usually pretty simple, right? 1 line generally means negative, and 2 lines, well, that means it's positive. You know, when it's all said and done, figuring out these early signs is really about learning to listen. In those first few weeks, your body isn't yelling, it's speaking in whispers. And I hope this explainer helps you start to decode them.